if you're in a situation like me where you need to add more protein and you're still trying to keep your calories low, then I'm going to show you all my new recipes I had to create for this way of eating. I'm on week 5 or week 6 now. Everything I'm eating had to be created by me. Welcome back to another episode of Plant-Based Dads. I'm Joey Troxel. All right, before we start off this video, I just want to say thank you to our financial supporters. If you've thought about helping the show or thought about how you can be part of this, how you can be part of the team, we do have a Patreon and PayPal system set up. The financial supporters help support the show and get the plant-based message out to the public. The show would not exist without without PayPal and Patreon supporters. And there is Patreon and PayPal only content that we have that goes to them also. Plus, they do get the regular Plant-Based Dads videos up to 48 hours early. So if you've thought about doing that, there's a link below this video that will tell you how to get started. All right. What happened? Why the change? What's going on? All right, so I'm going to try and explain it to you the best I can here. I'm recording at my computer, which I've never done before. I'm always in the kitchen or like somewhere or at Costco or whatever, but I've never looked at the computer, and all my data is here. So the camera's right in front of the computer, but I'll be looking at data, so I may not be looking at the camera, just so you know. So I'm going to move this little picture of me over here, and I've got my data. The first thing I want to do is talk about what's happening with me. So I talked about this a little bit on my other channel and in the last video. On December 7th, I stopped in at a trainer, local trainer here. He's a kind of a local celebrity because he's a bodybuilder and has won some awards. And I stopped in there and just told him, like, I need help. I don't, I'm not being successful. I've been at this for years. I really have tried everything. Like, I don't know what we can do, but this isn't working. I should be a lot thinner than I am. I should be in a lot better shape, and I'm just not. So, I've tried it my way, so I just wanted to go to someone else and hear their perspective. And whatever that is, right, like, I'm just going to hear what he has to say. I'm not going to judge him. He's a meat eater or whatever. Like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm just going to listen. And I told him, you're going to have 2 problems with me. First, I'm a vegan, and I'm sure you're not a vegan. And he goes, I'm not. I said, okay. And then, I don't know why I said I'm sure you're not a vegan, just because, I assumed he's just, a meathead muscle person, but that's what I assumed. Probably bad. And then I said, and, I'm a senior citizen. I'm 60 years old. He was like, okay. And I said, yeah. So I said, here's what I'd like. He's like, what do you want? And I'm like, I want to be in better shape. Like, I want to have some sort of muscle tone. It doesn't have to be amazing, but I don't want to be heavy like this. I just want to be trimmer. I want to fit into my clothes, and I want to look in the mirror and be happy with what I see. And that has not happened in a very long time. So he said, okay, let's get you on a 3D scanner that I have here, and we're just going to do a workup for you. We're going to put all your information in and have this thing scan you, and we'll come up with your numbers. And I was like, great, this is exactly what I need. So we did that. We did a scan, and a bunch of stuff came up, and it was horrific. And on my other channel, Joey Troxel, I do have a video coming out eventually that will explain what it looked like before and what I look like now. There's a huge difference as far as numbers. But the first numbers were just horrific. So he said, okay, can I make some suggestions? And I said, absolutely. He goes, here's what you need, and here's how it works. Let me go over the science. I was like, all right, let me listen. He said, first, we're going to have to, and the machine said that my daily basal metabolic rate, my BMR, which I already knew, was like 1,500. And we knew, like we've talked about this was why I reduced my calories, because I knew that what I burn every day, just standing, without exercise, was about 1,400 calories. So he said, your BMR is 1,500. He goes, that's really low. He says, you're going to struggle to lose weight. And so he said, you are going to have to be on a calorie deficit to lose weight because that's how it works. He goes, everyone has to be on a calorie deficit, but you have to be, below this 1,500. And I was like, yeah, I get that. He goes, so you're going to need to start counting your calories. And I was like, well, I'm already there. He's like, oh, okay, well, that's great. He goes, we're going to need to have you at about 1,400 calories. And I said, okay. I think I was doing 1,200 calories already before that. So I was like, great, right? And then he said, you're going to need to get a food scale because you need to measure every single thing you put in your mouth. Like, exactly. And I said, perfect. I'm already there. I'm already doing that. He was like, oh, okay, great. So, as we're going along, he's kind of surprised that I'm in this situation, right? Like overweight and not having success, and I'm doing these things, right? And then he goes, we're going to have you, and he does some calculations. He goes, you're going to need to be at 140 grams of protein a day. And I was like, what? 140 grams of protein a day? He goes, yeah. I said, listen, as a male, I don't need more than like 57 grams of protein. Like, I know that, right? I know all about protein and all that. And I know that I don't need to eat meat to get it. He was like, you don't need to eat meat to get protein. He goes, but here's the deal. When you lose weight, when you're dieting, how do you know you're not losing muscle? And I was like, is that a thing? He goes, yes, it is. So I said, well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm burning muscle or fat. He goes, you need to know. And he said that the only way to protect the muscle you have is to make sure you have enough protein to sustain it. Then your body will be forced to burn the stored fat, not your muscle. And I was like, oh, for crying out loud. And by the way, the minute I left him, I went on the internet and started looking at the Vegan Gym and Sean Dalwani and Brian Turner and all these guys who do this, and they said exactly the same thing. So while I didn't have to have an argument with him about I get enough protein, he knew that. We did have to talk about I'm not getting enough protein if I want to do what I'm doing, which is to protect my muscles from being eaten up during the process when in a calorie deficit. So he goes, we're going to need to, make sure that you're getting 140 grams of protein a day. And I was like, on a plant-based diet, like 140 grams of protein a day, that's pretty challenging. He goes, yeah, you're going to have to eat tofu. And I said, yeah, but I can't eat tofu for every meal, right? And tofu is like, somewhat higher in fat. Like, it's not something I want to just live off of, right? So I said, okay. And then he goes, you're going to need to work out. You need to come in here, and we're going to train you. And one of the things he said was, how long do you want this to take? And I was like, I feel like I'm going to give you 4 months here, and let's see what you can do. And he goes, we can work with 4 months. I can show you. You're going to look like a different person in 4 months. And I was like, great. So that's what happened. 140 grams of protein in 1,300 calories. Now, you should not do 1,300 calories. That's a very low amount of calories. But you probably don't have, a 1,500 calorie BMR. The average daily, allowance when you look at, what percent something's giving you of calcium and all those other vitamins and minerals, they're like, it's 30% based on a 2,000 calorie diet. Well, that's the average person. I can't do a 2,000 calorie diet. A 2,000 calorie diet would have me eating 500 calories over what I'm burning every day, which would make me gain weight. So everything he said, I already knew, right? And I had talked about it on this channel, except for the protein part. And I've always been like, listen, I'm a vegan, I get my protein. But he just didn't try and argue with me that. He said, you're not getting enough. So that was the beginning. I went home, I started looking at recipes, I started trying to figure this out. And when I looked at it, the way I was eating, whole food, plant-based, potatoes and beans and oats and rice and corn and peas and all of that, all my favorite foods, there was no way, absolutely none, that I was going to get 140 grams of protein from whole food, plant-based items in 1,300 calories. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you right here. Let's take pinto beans. Pinto beans right here, right? If I highlight pinto beans on this list of foods right here, you'll notice over here I've got the word protein and 143.4 grams. That was the closest I could get in even amounts of like cups of pinto beans to 140. But either way, you'll get the message. To get 143 grams of protein in pinto beans, I have to eat 2,339 calories. I would be eating 1,000 calories over what I need to be eating to get that. Pinto beans aren't going to work, or none of the beans are going to work. I've checked them all. What about baked potatoes? Look, potatoes, right? Plain, I eat the skin, whatever, right? You can see right here. To get 138 grams of protein, which is just under my 140, I would have to eat 5,134 calories worth of potatoes. And that would be 40 small potatoes. Do you see where I'm going with this? Right? Let's look at brown rice. Another one of my favorites. Okay. To get 143 grams of protein, or close to 140, in rice and brown rice, I would need 6,460 calories of brown rice. I would have eaten over, I don't know, minus 1,300, or way over, right? Let's look at cashews. Well, cashews are high, right? Cashews are high in protein. To get 140 grams of protein in cashews, 4,000 calories, right? For a minute, let's skip over the tofu. Let's go to oats, same story, 4,000 calories. I would need of oats, 13 cups. Mung beans, I would need 10 cups of mung beans for 140 grams of protein. And chickpeas, I would need 2,800 calories to get 144 grams of protein. All of those are my favorite foods, and they're loaded with protein. So for all of you who are commenting, saying that I can do all of that from a whole food plant-based, not on 1,300 calories. On 2,800 calories, I sure can, right? But not on 1,300 calories. People are also saying, you just need to eat whole food plant-based. It won't matter. That is not true. You have to eat less calories than you burn to be in a deficit. If you're not in a deficit, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're not in a deficit, you're not losing weight. And I am trying to lose weight. That's my focus right now. I've eaten healthy. I'm healthy. I'm 60 years old without a pill in my cabinet. Believe me, all of the people that are my age, they're all like on pills or dropping dead already. I'm not one of them because I've eaten whole food plant-based. But I can't do that at 1,300 calories. For now, let's go back to tofu here. Tofu, I can do this with tofu. So if I eat 3 full blocks of tofu in a day, that's 136 grams of protein, pretty close to 140. But I'd be getting almost 72 grams of fat. That's a huge amount of fat that I'm not interested in doing, right? And then I would have no carbohydrates. I'd have 16 carbohydrates. What is this, the keto diet? So I wanted to give you a picture of this. So I can back this up too. I'm going to show you something from a video that's coming out in a few weeks. Let me get that on the screen here. All right, so on the screen, I've got 2 scans. One that was done the day I went to meet this guy, right before we ran my credit card, and one that was done January 15th, because I started my first workout about the 9th or 10th or the 11th, whatever it was. So about 30 days later. So we're talking about 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks in. On the left, you can see my body fat is 33.1%, which is just grotesque, right? You can see out of my weight, 57.9 pounds of that, right, is fat. And 112.5 pounds of that is actually lean mass, lean muscle mass. All right, so it isn't pretty, but that's the numbers. Now on the right side, it's the same scan, but it's a month later. And if you look at it, my body fat during this 4 weeks of working out has dropped to 30.6. That's fantastic. It's still grotesque, but it's a big difference. My fat mass, I had 57.9 pounds of fat. Now I have 51.4 pounds of fat. And look at and this is how I know that I'm burning the fat and not the muscles. My lean muscle mass was 112.5 pounds. It's still really close to that. It's 112.1 pounds. So I did burn 0.4 pounds, less than half a pound of muscle mass during the last month, and that's it. That's what happened because I had the protein at 140 grams of protein to protect my muscle. None of it went away. Well, that tiny little sliver, but that's it. So I went in there with an open mind. I told this guy, I'm going to give you 4 months. I need to see numbers. I'm a teacher. I live by numbers. I need to see numbers. Show me, right? I dropped my attitude at the door, and this is about me. Everything I do in my life is about something else. This is about me. And he did. He showed me. And what he said was correct. So when I look back at other times in my life where I've lost 20 pounds in a few weeks and all that, like, I never really, like, I just don't know. Did I burn muscle? Did I burn fat? I wasn't protecting my muscles. So what happened, right? And it really makes sense why I didn't really, I wasn't really able to sustain it. Now, is this the problem that, you're having and you should do this? I don't think so. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a trainer. I'm not telling you to do any of this. But I'm telling you, for those of you who watch the channel and have supported me all these years, this is just something I have to do now. So some of the food I'm making is going to change. You know what has a lot of protein in it? Seitan. You know what has a lot of protein in it? Textured vegetable protein. Like, those things are loaded with protein. So I have to start adding those to some of my meals along with the fruits and vegetables. I'm still vegan, right? I'm still eating as much whole food, plant-based as possible. I still love salads. I still love sweet potato. Like, I love all those things. I'm not giving them up. But if you're in a situation like me where you need to add more protein and you're still trying to keep your calories low, then I'm going to show you all my new recipes I had to create for this way of eating. I'm on week 5 or week 6 now. Everything I'm eating had to be created by me. The trainer knows nothing about food for a vegan. He has lists of food and he goes, okay, here's what you'll be eating. And it was egg whites, and I don't even know what else on that, but that's as far as I got. And I go, I'm not going to be eating this. I'm sorry, right? And he goes, well, I said, look, can you just give me the numbers and I'll make it happen? And he goes, oh, yeah. So he gave me those numbers, and I had to create all new recipes. And that's the stuff I'm going to be showing you for the next few months anyway. I hope that you'll come along with me on the journey. I don't expect you to do everything I'm doing. I don't expect you to do any of it. But I hope you can at least appreciate that at this point in my life, I know I need to make a change, and what I've been doing isn't working. If you're in my Starch Solution group on Facebook, that group is still for Starch Solution people. I love the Starch Solution. It's the key to life. It will make you healthy. I will. There's nothing you can say that changed my mind about that, and I will most likely go back to being a whole food plant-based eater eventually. But for now, I will be incorporating a little more somewhat processed food into what I'm doing, and I don't need comments telling me that you can do this all whole food plant-based. You can't do it on 1,300 calories. So that's my video for today. I know this is different than the format I normally do, but I feel like I need to have a one-on-one talk with you about this, so you can understand where I'm coming from and where I'm trying to go. Hit that like button, show us some love, or subscribe if you're not happy. I would understand. Click on that bell, you get notified every time we have a new video. It'll still be every Tuesday, and leave a comment below. I got to tell you, the video I had last week, within a few hours, there was 60 comments, and I would say 52 of them were like, this is just what I need. And then there were probably like 3 or 4 that were like, I got to stop watching you. I'm sorry, you're not eating whole food plant-based. So, and I understand, but, even my, interpretation when I watch other people, there are some meat eaters that I follow, right? Because, like the Pioneer Woman, right? I love the Pioneer Woman, but, sometimes I get ideas and I go, oh, I can change that recipe to tofu, right? Or jackfruit, and it's going to be just as good. So I try not to be so judgmental of them. That's their choice to do that, right? My choice to be vegan wasn't about me. It was about the animals, right? It never was about me. So, I don't expect everyone to do that. But leave a comment below. Let me know if these videos are interesting to you and all that. And if that's not going to work for you, I totally understand. And I wish you the best. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.